Well, hello, and welcome once again to A Goodman's Tale. This is Josh, and at A Goodman's Tale, we get down to the nitty-gritty. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. We tell our stories, both good and bad, our ups and downs, life's highest moments, and life's greatest defeats. We hope that you get something out of this, and if you do, we ask that you would like, share, and subscribe. Get the word out. So yeah, let's get into it. Well, we are back once again with Miss Judy. Thank you for our last interview. What a great time we had together. Discussing some of your adventures. So before we jump back into your adventures, let's go to kind of our icebreaker questions. And today, the first icebreaker question is, if you had to give up sleep for 24 hours or give up food for 24 hours, which would you choose?
I think it's obvious. I can give up sleep for 24 hours because, like, I've been in production and we would not sleep for 2-3 days.
Yeah.
So I'm used to that. But eating, not unless it's fasting.
Fasting, of course. But if you had to, if you were placed in a position, and it's interesting, right? Because if you go without eating, you can go without eating for 40 days. You can fast for 40 days,
yes.
But you can't go without sleep for that long. I mean, you would go insane if you went more than 2, 3, 4 days without any sleep. So, I think on a short-term basis, I would definitely give up sleep. But if it got any more than a day or two, then I'd have to go.
You have to go sleep.
I'd have to flip-flop those around. And if you had to choose between the ocean or the mountains, which would it be?
I'm half-hearted because I can, I love both. Mm-hmm. I don't swim.
Yep.
I don't swim.
Which is crazy because
really
you live in a nation of
surrounded
8,000 islands.
With thousands of islands. But I love the serenity of the beach and of the ocean. And whenever, I remember, so when in high school, our school is just behind it is the ocean itself.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
And then our house is like 2-3 minutes away. I can even walk to it. So whenever I feel bad, I feel, I'm just exhausted or stressed, I'm just gonna, we have what we call a sea wall. And I would just go there, sit there. And breathe and by myself.
Now, in the Philippines, do you guys eat a lot of seafood?
We do, yes.
It's a high, a lot of seafood.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's awesome.
Yes.
So I found something out about myself this past trip up to the mountains. I went up to Gatlinburg last week, and 100% of the time I would have said I'm always choosing the ocean. I surf, dive, scuba, snorkel, swim, you name it. I love the ocean. But this trip, because Amber and I have been talking about an investment property, maybe buying something we could rent out, and whether to do that at the ocean or in the mountains. And this time in the mountains, going down the Nantahala and experiencing the waterfalls, I believe that I could do the mountains if I had water. If I have a river, a lake, anything. Because water, I think, is my element of choice. If I may actually choose the mountains over the ocean if I had a large mountain lake or, crystal clear, beautiful, not like Lake Jordan or something like that, but I mean like a beautiful, pristine
pretty mountain. Yeah, I love the mountain even without the water because if I think about the mountain, I think about prayer mountains. Yeah. So I can go up on a hill and just watch God's creation unfold before me and just.
Well, it's interesting because this past, when we did go up, we had an amazing time. We went to Cates Cove and, down the Nantahala and Laurel Falls. And so up in the Smokies, there is more wildlife. I saw more wildlife on this trip than I have ever seen in the Smokies in my life. They've reintroduced elk. They've got a herd of 200 elk up there. We saw more elk than we could count. We saw 10 or 12 black bears,
Wow,
we saw
amazing,
deer and we saw just all sorts of stuff. Just yeah. So it was a really a good time. And we're sitting on the back porch and just hanging out, and we look out and there's a bald eagle just soaring over. And so anyway, enough about the icebreakers. Let's jump in. Last time we concluded our story. In goodness sake, what a great story you have about your adventures in Qatar and going to Europe and Paris and Germany and Italy and all your world travels and all that stuff. Today, and you brought us through the visa process and finally getting to the States. So let's pick up the story. Where did you fly into? Because you flew into San Francisco.
Yes.
And then where did you go from there?
From San Francisco, I flew straight to Grand Rapids.
Okay, Michigan.
Airport, Michigan. Because the conference, the Come to the Fire conference at that time was in Michigan.
Gotcha.
So I went there, and my friends from Grove City, Idaho, not Idaho, Ohio, they drove up to Michigan to attend the same conference.
Very cool.
So I stayed with them. So I think I came in October 14, 15. The conference was until the 19th, and my birthday was 18.
Oh, wow.
So
cool.
I actually, spent birthdays with them.
Yep, with your friends. And
yes.
Cool.
And I just remembered being in the airport and just amazed in the Grand Rapids airport, and just amazed of how God, have been with me all through that journey and the process and I'm finally here.
Yeah.
And I love, when I came in, I love the people. Like, you can just talk to the people in the airport with no hang-ups,
Let me say this too. If you're joining in on this episode, if you haven't seen the previous episode, go back and watch that. Because just the adventure story, the testimony of Judy's journey to get to the United States, and now today, as we delve in, we're going to see God's purpose and plan kind of unfolding. But you really need to go back and watch that before you watch this. So go ahead.
Yes. So I was in the airport and I was just really thinking about how God brought me in here, and now I'm finally here. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what your plans for me, but I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that you're ahead of me.
Yeah.
You are already there. So my friend picked me up. I actually, before I left the Philippines, I bought a pen for the president of Come to the Fire movement, Alita Henthorn, which though I told you she sent the invitation and everything. So I bought a pen and I went to the conference, and I think a day or two in the conference, we came and meet her.
Oh, wow.
And then I gave her my pen that I bought for her, and I said it has an inscription of her name. So I made sure that her name was on the pen. They engraved it, and I was just like,
what a cool testimony for her.
Yes.
Seeing the sacrifice.
Physically,
you being there and making it after all that.
So I hand her, in our country there's no him, her. So I'm kind of confused with him, her, he, she.
It's not a gender issue.
No.
We got it. Okay.
No. But so I presented her my gift, and I said, I'm just grateful for you sending the things that you sent and doing the things that you do and believing that it was God, And I said, I'm thankful for letting me join the conference and you being the part of, being a part of what God has done
in your life.
In my life, yes.
Cool.
So we had a picture together, and just grateful that the conference is a good one too. It was a very, very good introduction for me. Coming to America,
because it was your first time to the United States.
To the
also.
U.S. Yes.
Now, fast forward a month or two, because then your mom flies in December.
Yes.
And where did she go?
She actually went here.
Okay.
In North Carolina to Fayetteville, because my sister and her husband at the time was stationed here.
Gotcha.
Okay. So after Michigan, I actually went to a couple of places. No, after Michigan, I went to Grove City, with my friends, stayed there for a month and just spent time, helped the church with media and everything. And then after that, I flew to Fort Lupton, Colorado.
Yeah.
I have a friend there who I have been friends with since third grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or earlier. So it's our first time seeing each other after a lot. I think 20 years, 15 or 20 years. Yeah, we haven't seen each other that long.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be there, experience my first snow in the United States.
Right.
And my first Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And my first Black Friday.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know if that's so good or not. Yeah.
And after that, I did not do it again because they asked me, "You want to join us? Let's go. This is a tradition, usual tradition."
And we used to. My family used to. We'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Be out at 4. Coffee, and just for a $10 gift card at Sears, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
I remember, I think it was Kohl's or JCPenney.
Yeah,
that we went to, and the line was long. And like, I told my friend, I'm just doing this for experience from now, but I don't think I'm doing this again.
And now you can say, look, I did it, and now I'm good.
Because I'm not really the type of person who would shop or window shop if you don't really have anything to shop. No, I would go to the store. I know what I want. I'll pick it up and then go. Yep. Yes.
So that brings us to, at what point did you come? I mean, so you're traveling around the U.S. At what point did you come to Fayetteville?
I spent the Christmas in Fayetteville.
Okay.
So after that trip, I went to Fayetteville to meet my mom, spend Christmas, and my sister set me up with dates and everything else.
Doing her part as a sister.
Yes. Because, but majority really of the town is really army and military. So I sometimes I'm like, God, I don't need divorced men or separated men
or men that have women that are deployed, still married.
I don't think I can do that. So but I spent my Christmas with them.
Okay.
And then I flew to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Okay.
This is where my friend who they were my friend that helped me with the visa and everything. That's another part of the story. But she and her husband used to start. They started an orphanage in the Philippines, and they've been a missionary there, and then they went back home here in the U.S. So I stayed with them, experienced my first Super Bowl,
yep. Super Bowl party. Yep.
Yes. And then I also helped with the kids' church in their church. So things just go from there, and it's almost time for me to go home in April.
Because your 6 months is almost done.
Yes, it's almost done. And when I was in Idaho, I was helping the church plant with them setting up the kids' church as part of the church plant. So I helped the pastor, and I'm like, I'm actually almost done with my visa. I'm praying if the church or you guys can help me with extending my visa. So then at that time, I was processing my extension during that time that I was in Idaho.
And how long was the extension for?
Another 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Yeah. So another 6 months, which will end, supposed to be in October of 2014.
Yep.
Yes. So I went back to Fayetteville around April because my brother-in-law passed away. My sister's husband. It was a form of N2H3. Yeah, it was just 1 week and he was gone. So it was very, very tragic.
Yeah.
Like my dad just passed a year before that, and now her husband. So during this process, I met a guy and I had a relationship, and I was looking for a church when early onset of 2014, and I really prayed about it, and I called the church. So I saw Cliffdale in the website, And I called the church. I remember Miss Kathy answering the phone at that time. Was it
Yeah,
Robinson?
Miss Kathy, yeah.
Yes. So she said, well, we have this scheduled Sunday, but we actually have, because I was asking, you know, how do you do, because I know about membership class and everything back in Ohio. So I said, so do you have any membership class, or, you know, how do I join the church? And she was like, there's actually one membership class this Saturday. So I was really praying about it, and I was asking God, is this the church? Because I chose Cliffdale because it was closer to the ones I have home.
Yeah.
The mission, the belief.
Yeah.
And
and it's really neat, just not to interrupt, but for a moment, but you see that even further in the connection I have with Jonathan.
Yes.
You know, because we're the same DNA. You know, it's like one of those things that's very similar. So really cool.
So it really draws me. So I went on that Saturday, still asking God if this is the church that He wants me to be in. And then meeting you, and suddenly you telling me that you have a Filipino son.
Yeah.
You know?
Really? I mean,
yes.
And my missions background, everything is just the connection.
But it sealed the deal. Like, okay, he's got a Filipino son and he loves Filipino food. So I'm staying.
This is my place.
This is where I belong. So from then on, I just felt I belonged to Cliffdale. You know, I felt that God called me to Cliffdale. And so that began the journey of me being part of Cliffdale, and just helping out whenever I can help out. I remember Miss Pastor Melinda. I call her Miss Melinda or Pastor Melinda sometimes. I remember her. I was helping in the sound booth, and he was checking on, you know, everybody, and was like, hi, because I think it's the first time that she saw me, and I like. She probably think, what are you doing here? Why are you here? So, but yeah, it was just very nice. And I think at the time, Miss Kathy was also leaving, and you were needing, you know, a receptionist. So I went. So after my brother-in-law passed, I visited in Fayetteville back, and then I went back to Idaho, and then. So I left our relationship here, and then. He was like, would you consider coming back to Fayetteville, blah blah blah, let's you know, let's maybe work things out. He had a situation that he needs to improve before we can you know, move forward with our relationship. So I'm like, okay. I came back, and that's when I came back, and I came back to you to talk to you at the church, and told you at the time you were needing a receptionist, and I told you that this is my plan. I'm coming back because of this. We're trying to work out this relationship, but I want you to know, Pastor Josh, that even if the relationship would not work out, I felt like that God is telling me to stay. So that's my very word. And I remember that I came back to you know, my sister's house to make sure that, because they're in the process of closing my sister's house in Yadkin at that time. I was making sure that everything is sent to them. You know, everything in the home is. And then I remember that when the time that it was sold, we were looking for a place for me, and that's the time when I stayed with a month with Pastor Melinda and Pastor Brad. So I Pastor Brad will laugh at me because he's like seeing me roast the lumpia for a whole day. He left the morning, and then he came back and still rubbing.
And there's stacks of lumpia.
Yes, and then he calls me sneaky ninja because he wouldn't even know that I was there. I'm very, very quiet in my room, and I'm always like that, you know. But
so let's move forward to the fateful day when you met your husband to be.
So I was helping at the church at that time, and
because this is such a great story.
We're closing at the house, right? So the church is at Cliffdale. My sister is not here anymore, so I have to take the bus. From Cliffdale to Yadkin, that's about 2 bus rides. So a change of bus. So I'm seeing this guy, and I'm like, this guy is just looking at me like he's so creepy. And of course, he will tell you that I'm the one who's creepy because I'm looking at him. But we would see each other like I think we saw each other in the bus like 3 or 4 times before we actually met. And that day, so this relationship of mine did not work.
Yeah.
And that day, it's just George saw me like my face is just so downcast. So he's like, I'm not gonna talk to her today. So I think it was the next bus encounter that we have, that I was, a women after a breakup, you would dress up, make your face up so it doesn't look you're like depressed, and look beautiful and pretty. But yeah, so at the bus stop in front of the church, I hop in, and then he suddenly asked me like, "Hi, so you work at the church?" That's his line.
Great
it was like,
line.
"Hi, pretty dress you have. You work at the church?" Because he saw me hopping in from the church bus stop. And I said, yes. So would you mind if I talk to you? Blah, blah, blah. By the way, my name is George. And I just laughed. And I just, oh my goodness, everything just... And he's like, why are you laughing at me? Is it my face, my name, or what? And I'm like, to tell you the truth, my dad's name is George. Yeah. I have 2 brothers named George Jr., George the Third. Yeah. And I have niece whose name is George Leon. And I have a nephew named George the Fourth. So even though my dad just passed away a year before, I felt like he's laughing, in heaven. Like,
looking down.
Like, God, so, are you really
here's another George
me?
For you.
Yes. So it was just a good conversation. Actually, he told me later at the story that he was gonna introduce me to a friend. He was not looking for somebody, and I wasn't looking for somebody too. I remember I had a talk with Pastor Jerome a week before that, because I was helping Pastor Jerome and Mr. Nathan Jones in the food bank. I was trying to help them just pack the whatever bags.
Get stuff together.
Yes, get stuff together. So, and I was telling him about my heartache and sharing it to him, and just him just praying and saying that you don't know. You don't know what's God's plan is. You'll never know. Who knows? This may be an open door for you. But he just prayed with me, and a week after, I told him, Pastor Jerome, I met somebody. And he was just laughing, and and then so the first time we met, he wasn't actually looking for somebody. He was gonna introduce me to a friend, and I think an hour or 30 minutes into the conversation, he was like, I'm not gonna introduce her to someone. So after the conversation, he actually invited me to go out with his friends, which I said yes, because I prefer a group setting than just you and me. So I said yes, meet his friends, and I felt like we just, have a good time together. And then I called my sister up. And she said, Ate, which means elder sister, I don't know how to call him. I cannot call him George.
Right.
Because in our culture, it's very rude to address a person with their first name. Yeah. It's either you call them older sister, older brother, or aunt, uncle. Yeah. And dad. So I think in the first months of our relationship, I am just calling him honey. Like, I can't begin to imagine, but she was just laughing at me. So I was just like, well, we'll see, what happens, because around October of 2014 is when my visa's gonna end. And so George and me just move forward with our relationship. I think 1 week or 2 weeks after the relationship, I met his mom. So,
and I remember that too. I remember when he first invited you. Yep.
Yes. I invited him to church. I invited him to help with the food bank, and he helped. And I see that we have the same heart in helping the needy, giving to the community, and going back in college, I have a list of, when we were young people in the church, they would tell us,
make a list
of
everything you want.
Everything you want, physical, attributes, and everything. So I put in there on the first of my list was like, God, he has to be a tall person.
Yeah.
Because I'm very short.
Yeah.
And then I remember this, but I did not realize this after we got married. I remembered my list saying, Lord, this is gonna be like a bonus or a reward that he should have like blue eyes. But I wasn't looking for blue eyes. Yeah. And I wasn't looking for a tall guy, and there are certain characteristics that I was really looking for. But I only realized that after we got married, that like, wow, I just remembered my list, and this is the list that I was believing God for, that he should have no marriage at all, single, no kids. Never been married is what I mean. And going back to the people I've dated, like, oh God, please. So, in Fayetteville, it's hard to find a single guy who's unmarried, never married at all. And so I just believe that, he's the one for me. And I think 3 or 4 days, this is an argument, always an argument. If it was 3 or 4 days after we've seen each other, that he asked me, so what color of wedding gown you want to wear? And my face, he saw my face, was just very surprised, very unexpected. Like, I'm not even expecting this. So I'm like, white? But yeah. And after that, when he made the proposal, he had this rubber ring first. Because it was what? We got married. So I made my wedding arrangements for 2 weeks. Back home, I'm a professional wedding planner. So you should, have what? A year or two into planning your wedding.
At least 6 months.
And here's the thing. Before we met, her sister got engaged. And we met, we got engaged, and then got married and have child. And then the sister got married.
Got married. All in that time. Tony has a similar story to that, where that happened.
Yes. So for me, it's just unfolding what God has been planning all along. Because prior to me going to the States, I was just planning on visiting. And then my friends and my pastor was like, you're going to find the one, you're going to get married there. And my plan was like, no, I'm just visiting. And then after that, I'm moving on. I'm applying a job in Canada or finding,
doing something else.
But it wasn't really a major change of that in my life. I wasn't really planning on it after my dad just passed away. So in 4 months into our relationship, we got married, and actually I think a month or 2 weeks into the relationship, I met his mom, and then a month or 2, I can't remember when, I met the dad. So I'm just realizing that, wow, it's getting
it's serious.
It's serious.
When a boy brings you home to meet his mama, that's
And then when we told mom that we were gonna get married, mom was like, this is him and mom talking, and mom was like asking him, is she pregnant?
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, no, she's not pregnant. And it was funny because, so we got married in October 24, 2014. I think my visa already expired, or my visa already expired in October 14 of 2014. But it was just the unfolding of everything was just very
destiny, of purpose.
Very fast, very quick. And a couple of months after, I remember this, asking you guys for prayers because I wasn't feeling well. I was eating and then throwing up food, and then I really don't know. Yeah. And you
first comes love, second comes marriage, third comes a baby,
and you were like, sis, you're married and things happen when you're married.
Just saying.
So that day I checked, And yes, I was
Yeah.
I was pregnant, and I told him, like, I told George, like, honey, I felt that it's gonna be a boy. The first time I had the test, I felt like God is telling me that it's gonna be a boy, and George really wanted a boy so bad he can taste it. But so moving forward to my pregnancy, a lot of people were asking me, so did you know that you were pregnant when you got married? I said, no, I didn't even know I was pregnant. How can I know I was pregnant before I got married? And we later on realized and asked the doctor when was the conception time of the baby. And the doctor gave us the date of the weekend of our honeymoon.
There you go. Woo!
So it was just so funny that, you know, I'm like, God, I'm not sure if, but when my sister moved, I have this box of tiny clothes, believing that I'm still gonna have, you know, a baby, I'm still gonna have a child, I'm still gonna get married. And I was really crying out to the Lord, like, Lord, you have not given me this love, this motherly love, or this love for a family, if you're not giving me one, you know. I believe that it's just a perfect time and a perfect moment. Because I remember used to be when I was younger and my dad was still alive, I did not have a relationship that knows my dad and knows me at the same time. Because he's very strict, he's very protective, and there was a time in Qatar when I was working, he was like, do you want to go home? I can still, you know, provide for you. I'm like, Dad, I'm old. I need a life of my own. You need to let me go. But yeah, I remember telling my dad before he passed away that, don't worry about me. God has me. God will take care of me. And then he was worried about me walking me to the aisle and everything. And I was sad too that he cannot walk me in the aisle anymore and everything. And during our wedding, George's dad, who's also named George, walked me in the aisle. So I felt like it's my dad saying that I'm still, I got you. I'm looking at you and I'm taking care of you.
And I hate to cut us off again, but I'm going to. I want to wrap up. But before I do, we'll definitely have to have you back on the show. I think it's so great. For those of you who don't know, George is actually in our studio audience today also, who is Judy's husband, the father of little George. And it's interesting for me to see, you know, in this conversation, even in our previous one, how God has led step by step by step, right? Each step of the way. And even now, with you moving into more of an administrative position, and I've told you, I've known you all these years, I never realized how well we would fit as pastor and administrator, but the way you administrate, it fits perfectly with my leadership style. And so, and I know we're talking church plants now and admin and all of these things, and I've got to say, both to George and to Judy, that the partnership, I believe we haven't seen anything yet. I think we've given away millions of tons of food. We've helped countless individuals in the Fayetteville area and surrounding. We've had intense, powerful impact, and I think we're just coming to the point of where we're going to see real fruit from the relationship that we have. So I truly appreciate the partnership and the friendship, and look forward to what God has for us, you know, in the future.
Glory to God.
All right, guys, that's about all the time we have today. And like I said, I will have Judy on again, and maybe next time I'll try to have George, and we'll just have a great old time together. But with that being said, you know, as I always say, go out and live life with all you've got.